welcome to EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism. I am your host, Tabitha John, and I'll be bringing you the latest highlights of the day right after the headlines, so make sure to stay with us. The top stories this hour. President Saleh says civil work of the dam will be completed the current. And Israel orders siege of the Gaza Strip. In our first story for the hour, Deputy Prime Minister Demek Amakonnen has today inaugurated a new state-of-the-art training and research center on Kaizen built in Addis Ababa with a $27.5 million grant from the government of Japan. The center is expected to serve as a hub for African industrial human resource development, and it is expected to spread from Ethiopia throughout Africa. Ethiopia has adopted policies to use Kaizen to further develop the manufacturing and services sectors, as well as hospitals and schools. The new Director General of the UN Migration Agency, IOM, International Organization for Migration, Amy E. Pope, has appreciated Ethiopia's commitment on social protection and women affairs. Pope made the remark while conferring with Ethiopian Minister of Women and Social Affairs, Ergoge Tesfaye. Minister Tesfaye and the UN Migration Agency Director General Pope discussed briefly on challenges of migration issues and trends on current situation of migration and returnees, as well as future support to mitigate the atrocities happened to vulnerable migrants. The Ethiopian Embassy in India took part in the India-Africa Business Conclave held in Pune, Maharashtra State, India. The event was organized by the Global India Business Forum, GIBF, to strengthen bilateral business and investment partnerships between India and African countries. Addressing the event, Ethiopian Ambassador to India, Demek Atnafu, spoke at length on investment opportunities in Ethiopia, particularly focusing on priority sectors such as agriculture and agro-processing, manufacturing, ICT, mining, and tourism.
Today we are doing a tour of Addis Ababa with Abyssinian Nomad. We have a driver, trusty driver. We have our guide right here. And of course we have our professional coffee drinker, Tracy. So right now we're doing a quick stop on Mount Antoto.
And it is massive compared to the elephants that we see today.
So meet Lucy. For the longest time, she was believed to be our oldest ancestor. So welcome to Mercato Market. This is the largest open-air market on the African continent. It employs...
now moving on to news items selected for detailed analysis. In her opening remarks of the third year of the sixth tenure of the House of People's Representatives today, President Sahle-Work Zewde congratulated Ethiopians for achieving yet another milestone with a 90% completion of the Grand Renaissance Dam, and has been quite a success story to look up to. During the occasion, President Sahle-Work Zewde has delivered a speech that highlighted the performances of the previous year and government's key plans during the 2016 Ethiopian fiscal year. The president stressed that civil work of the dam will be completed in the current Ethiopian fiscal year. Tigist Harnesa brings us more.
President Sahle-Work Zewde, in her opening remarks of the third year of the six-year tenure of the House of People's Representatives, tabled 2015's Ethiopian fiscal year plan. The president also brought forward remarkable achievements of the administration, emphasizing on the corrections to be taken by the administration going forward. President Sahle-Work further added that the past should never be an obstacle, rather a lesson preserved.
Our past should never be an obstacle, rather a lesson. We need to do our best, for history has to be our reason for unity. Let's go forward, giving discussions and intellectual precedents a chance.
She also stressed that for Ethiopians, achieving another milestone with the 90% completion of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam has been quite a success story to look up to. The president also stressed that civil work of the dam will be completed in the current Ethiopian fiscal year.
The past Ethiopian fiscal year, the country has achieved another milestone with 90% completion of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. And I would say it was achieved through relentless dedication of Ethiopians. So congratulations to you on this.
The opening ceremony of the House was attended by members of the two councils, religious leaders, diplomats from various countries based in Addis Ababa, regional heads of government and other invited guests as well.
As Ethiopia continues to wade through the post-war waters, scholars are pining their hopes on the appropriate application of transitional justice. Talking to ETV, the scholars say that this process, if handled well, could guarantee lasting peace in Ethiopia. While approached by our staff reporter, Johannes Fentahun, the scholars underscored that healing wounds created during the 2-year-long war in the northern part of the country could only see the light of day if accompanied by transitional justice.
As a result of long-running conflict in Ethiopia, numerous people have been killed, many others have been forced to flee their homes, and a great deal of property has been damaged. The key initiatives underway to bring about long-term peace in Ethiopia are national consultation and transitional justice. The following is what scholars said about approaches of transitional justice.
Accountability has to be understood in different ways. It's not always retribution. We can also talk about restorative justice and other forms of justice. So justice has to be served, but we should not always think that justice in a sense of only retribution.
The scholars added that it is necessary to take experience from countries that have effective experience regarding the implementation of transitional justice.
There are certain countries, for instance in Africa, especially in South Africa and also in the northern African countries, in Tunisia and others, where this transitional justice is implemented, and to some extent they also scored success, and therefore by drawing some good lessons from these countries we can also practice it.
According to the scholars, there are different ways of dealing with accountability in the transitional justice process.
People who have to go to trials, they have to go, and accountability has to be ensured. But then we shall also not forget that there are all sorts of and forms of justice, and we shall also look at these different forms of justice.
Many countries in the world have the practice of transitional justice, but always accountability is there. Reporting for EBC News, Johannes Fentahun, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Improving access to clean water is pivotal to change the lives of vulnerable children and families. This is according to Life Water International Ethiopia, an international NGO which expressed dedication to roll up its sleeves for the task. This came here today during the organization's annual leadership meeting, as our staff reporter Goshu Melisau will take us through the story. Take a look.
Ethiopia is commonly known as the water tower of Africa, but its citizens are still facing problems to access clean water. The Ethiopian government is working relentlessly to overcome the problem with development partners like Life Water International Ethiopia. Life Water International Ethiopia is one of the development partners that intervenes to improve water supply, sanitation, and hygiene, particularly in rural areas of Ethiopia. The non-profitable organization has been operating in Ethiopia since 2015 by implementing sustainable water projects in Oromia and Sidama regional states. The organization expresses its transformative activities in Ethiopia, and over 235,000 Ethiopians have been benefited from the project.
Ethiopia, we've been doing programs here since 2015. And 4 different areas, and we have seen our typical program is about 20,000 people, a project within a program area, and we are on our 2nd and 3rd projects in many of the areas. So I don't have the exact number, but it'd be probably around 120,000 people or so that we've been able to serve so far. And so our goal is to really work within a district and make sure that we're not just serving a few people in this district and a few people in this district and then moving. And our goal is to get each district to where over 90% of the people will have access to safe water and improved sanitation.
Life Water International expresses its commitment to access clean water for vulnerable communities.
Life Water has been providing safe water and improved sanitation and hygiene interventions to impoverished individuals in Africa, Latin America, and Asia since 1977. Since its establishment, the global team of Life Water has positively impacted the lives of over 2.5 million people, and we are excited to continue our work.
Ethiopian Civil Society Authority praises Life Water International and encourages foreign charities to support local organizations.
We need from the civil society parties, that especially from foreign organizations, to capacitate. In addition to implementing different projects based on their objectives, as a government we need that to capacitate the local civil society organization in terms of knowledge, finance, materials.
Life Water's baseline intervention studies revealed that only 6% of the population in the project district had basic access to water. Life Water International is conducting its annual leadership meeting in Ethiopia and is expected to approve 150 million before 2024 for the implementation of the ongoing programs.
And finally, in our international story, dozens of Palestinians have been killed and wounded in Israeli air attacks on Jabalia refugee camp, health officials in Gaza say. Israeli Defense Minister says the Gaza Strip is to go under a total blockade, including a ban on admitting food and fuel. Israeli soldiers have killed several gunmen who crossed the border from neighboring Lebanon, the military has claimed. The U.S. has so far confirmed 9 deaths of its citizens in Israel. Well, dear viewers, that's all we had for this News Hours edition. Many thanks for watching.